Hi, I'm Mihir Joshi and welcome back to the MJ Show. Now, I'm very excited about my guest today. I know I say that very often, but I genuinely mean I'm super excited because his music has been a very important part of my teenagers, of my radio career, because I used to play at least one song by this artist in every hour, the Hindi hour that I used to do on FM Rainbow for about 5 years. Every time I had a Hindi music hour, I'd play at least one song by his band or by him, his one solo album that had come out. He's done so many things. He is a producer. He's done some of the biggest indie pop albums in our country. He's done remixes. He's a singer. He's a phenomenal guitar player. He's done jingles. He's done Coke Studio. He's done so many things, and I have no idea how I'm going to fit everything in this 45 minutes that we're going to spend with each other. But I'm going to try to get as much out as I can. It gives me absolute pleasure, and I'm just so happy right now that I'm here in his studio that you can see behind me. It's called Red House, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce on the show the incredible Lesle Lewis.
Hey,
Fantastic to have you on the show. I've been wanting to have you for a very long time on the show, but we just met up at Blue Frog and I just said it's got to happen, and literally within a week.
Yeah, I think when you want something bad enough,
Yeah,
it happens.
it
Like
happens.
me, I want something to happen to me, and it happens because I want it bad enough. But you have to want it from your soul.
There you go. So it's just proof that yes, I've
So
been
like
wanting
if you want to be a
have
good
you.
singer, you must want it from your soul, but you have to also work at it. Like
for sure.
call up each other and say, "Are you free? Can we meet?"
Yeah. No. Honestly, great to have you here. Now, the only confusion that I have is how do we fit in so much? Because there's just so much that you've done. So, I would have generally said, let's start at the start. How did it all begin? I think that's a great place to start, and then we'll see where it goes. How did the journey begin? There are, as you said, he told me this before we actually started shooting, and we'll go into the 5 sort of evolutions or reinventions of Lesle Lewis. How did it begin even before that, before everything began? How did you get into music?
Well, my dad, his name is P.L. Raj, and he's been Bollywood's biggest choreographer.
Yeah.
So Sholay, Sargam, Khaike Pan, Banaras, Evening in Paris, Yahoo, Jungli. I grew up with like Helen Auntie. I grew up with R.D. Burman.
Wow.
I grew up with Lakshmikant Pyarelal. I grew up with Kalyanji Anandji. Vijusha and me, like we were the kids who was told to shut up and sit quietly while they were working. So watching them compose, and being in the studio, watching them record. So I was really thrilled, and I think everybody kept on saying that, "Haan, tu to daddy jaisa dancer banne wala hai." And I said, "Man, I don't want to be like my dad." And so I took to music, but also my dad used to play tabla,
Okay.
and he was quite crazy about electronics.
Okay.
So electric guitar, synthesizer, all these things like fascinated him.
Yeah.
And my mom is like a at-home singer type. Like
Okay.
she's always sung. All I hear her is singing in the house, and they've loved the radio. So I mean, I grew up with radio,
Right.
and so I grew up with all the old Bollywood songs that played on radio.
Correct.
And I also grew up with the old jingles that used to play, "Mummy, Mummy, Modern Bread."
Yeah.
All those ones. And then my dad would, if he was at home, he was not shooting or something, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, All India Radio has got had a program which was the Indian folk music program. I'm telling you, they've got the best folk music India has.
Wow.
They've got the real folk guys playing it in those old days.
Yeah.
They have it recorded, and I used to keep listening to that whenever 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm just so sad that they can't make it available for the people. Through Coke Studio, I've tried to bring folk back into, but they've got the real stuff. So I'm just hoping one fine day they'll go to their vaults and pull out all the fantastic folk music that All India Radio has.
Yeah.
So I got into music, and I got into school, and I wanted to play drums, and my drum kit never arrived because because it didn't arrive on time, I lost my drum kit.
Okay.
And in school I picked up a guitar because it was a lot easier to play, and I remember in school, by the time we were doing 10th standard, they said, the principal asked everybody, "What do you want to do?" And Anchab said, "I'm a doctor, lawyer." And he asked me, "So Leslie, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to play the guitar."
Nice.
And the whole class laughed.
Okay.
The whole class, 10th standard,
Yeah.
whole class laughed. And today those same friends say, "Hey, we knew you were going to make it." I said, "Don't bullshit me, man. Don't." You guys laughed at me at that time. So for me, music's been a passion, and I think there's definitely some DNA because my dad is very creative, and my mom's also like some singer type, and
Correct.
and they were both dancers.
Nice. So that
there
rhythm,
is,
the whole
Kala's been
is
part
been a
of
part of your
I
family.
mean, I had Zakir Hussain at home.
Oh wow.
He used to carry me when I was small.
Nice.
His dad, Allah Rakha. There was, I'm in that mahol, Sitara
So those
Devi.
were your those were your friends, those were your relatives,
or at least there was talk
yeah.
about Birju Maharaj and then Gopi Krishan, and because because my dad was into dance, so he was a classical dancer.
Right.
So he started Bharatanatyam. So he had Parvati Kumar as his guru. So that was one side. So and then all classical dancers would look at each other and then meet up, and then classical dance means classical music. So then there's that marriage of class. So you meet the same guys, you're listening, and my dad would only listen to Vilayat Khan, only listen to stuff like serious players. So somewhere the osmosis of good music
was always
I was never into it.
Yeah.
Rag seekhna hai, rag nahi seekhna mujhe.
Correct.
And that's my power. That's the best thing that I did was I didn't study music, and that's why I can break all the rules.
Yeah,
because they made the rules.
Correct.
And I feel sometimes sad to watch the classical people stick to it because it's ye rag hai, wo note nahi lag sakta hai. I said, lagao na, acha lagta hai to acha lagta hai. But that doesn't mean you don't study. It's good to study it up to a point, and I'm saying don't let it rule you. Correct. If you can make it yours, then I think any education is great, whether it is, whether you're a doctor or whether you don't have to go by the book forever. But the book is very important to understand what it's all about.
So I guess, all those influences growing up, listening to classical music at home, folk music on
in school, I was in boarding school, so all
so
the
kids,
of Western music, I was in, so there was Jimi Hendrix, there was Cream, the Beatles, Clapton, I was growing up with all that stuff. So, one side I'm listening to Bollywood at home, and I'm listening to the Who and Deep Purple, and it's completely. So I grew up on a very, very wide diet of music.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So I guess all of those influences throughout your career, I can see that you utilized all of those things as, like you said, an osmosis. If you say, I mean, it's kind of been a part of your structure, and it's kind of fallen into the various projects that you've done, whether it's the Colonial Cousins, where you've had some phenomenal classical fusion happening. I think the first this is what I was talking about, ladies and gents. I was talking about these two albums which I had back in the day on radio.
That one's a rare one.
This is the rare one. I'm super happy to own it. The moment it came, in fact it says not for sale. I don't even know how it came to me, but I was so happy when I found this album, because I think without a doubt, firstly, this was the only band back then on the MTV Unplugged, which was back then like a massive show.
Well, what MTV Unplugged was to the world, I think we are the Colonial Cousins, the only Indian band that has ever been on the
international stage.
MTV Unplugged.
Correct.
And
on the international
not Unplugged. The local one. The local ones happened now. But when we had George Michael one night, and we had Seal on the other day, and there's Colonial Cousins on this day, and it was just fantastic.
This was 1996.
Yep.
1996, first Indian band on MTV Unplugged. And I feel bad for you guys because I have not seen videos of this on YouTube. And like you said, it's a rare album. So the only thing I could possibly think of, the only way you could get this, I don't think it's on iTunes either right now.
It might be. I don't know. I'm a kind of guy who doesn't go to the retro space.
I'm going to have to figure this out for you guys, and maybe I'm going to take his permission. Maybe we'll get one of these songs put up on iTunes, on YouTube, and then you can check it out. But honestly, one of the greatest albums that I've ever heard. So I'm telling you, I mean, all of these influences that you talked about, I can see that in the various,
and then also, when I got out of school, I had no band to play in.
Oh, okay.
And I was staying in Mahim, so there was the Fisherman Colony.
Okay.
And through a mutual friend, that was the only place I got to play guitar.
Okay.
So I was in this band that was called Blue Diamond Orchestra. And so I played in Satpati, I played in Umbargaon, I played in Palghar, on the station, on the road, Dharavi.
Okay.
For Vardarajan, that time he was the super mobster of that area.
Okay.
And for his Ganpati, and like, the Ganpati Pandal on the street.
Right.
And I'd be playing guitar like Jimi Hendrix with my teeth. And I'd go, Sangati na tujha. In my head, I was like doing something else. So it must have been bizarre, with all these bell bottoms and stuff like that.
Oh man! Yeah. And you had a lot of bands thereafter, right? I mean,
after that, I got it. I was I did a play called Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Okay.
And that's where I met a lot of my mentor musicians. So there was Gussie Rick on guitar, Steve Sequeira on drums. There was Charles and Xerxes on bass, and there was Loy Mendonça, SEL.
Yeah.
So Loy was on piano, and then suddenly you were surrounded by really good musicians, and I learnt a lot of guitar from Gussie. He's like my guru.
Yeah.
And then I have like two kind of gurus. There are two gurus really. One is Gussie Rick, who's taught me a lot about guitar and life. And there's Gorakh Sharma, who's Lakshmikant Pyarelal. Pyaralal's younger brother, he's a great guitar player. He's just like an underrated guy, nobody talks about him. But if you hear Sargam, I challenge anyone to play that piece like he did. His up-down stroke is so equal, it's like impossible. I mean, try it, it's difficult. And that's Gorakh Sharma. He's the guru hai, Ganda Bandhwa hai. So I still, I miss him. I don't get to see him much. I haven't met him in years. But these are the two people that really kind of formed a lot of the rest. I had to do myself, but I had these two instructional people.
Sort of started you off.
Yeah, and who looked after me as I went along. In as people, as human beings.
Okay, so the first sort of evolution or first sort of avatar of him was as a guitar player, right? And this is what you did. So before we move into our part 2 on the show, can I hear you play a track that you really love and just maybe sing along with it? Some song that you like, just so that people can see the guitar playing aspect.
There's no guitar playing. I don't play anymore. I used to.
You still play?
No.
We were just playing right now. It sounded amazing.
Okay, I'll just play.
Anything.
यारों दोस्ती बड़ी ही हसीन है, ये ना हो तो क्या फिर बोलो ये जिंदगी है, कोई तो दिलबर हो यार, बेगरज तेरा हो यार, कोई तो हो राज़दार. यारों मोहब्बत ही तो बंदगी है, ये ना हो तो क्या फिर बोलो ये जिंदगी है, कोई तो दिलबर हो यार, बेगरज तेरा हो यार, कोई तो हो राज़दार. तेरी हर एक बुराई पे डांटे वो दो, गम की हो धूप तो साया बने तेरा वो दोस्त, नाचे भी वो तेरी खुशी में. अरे यारों दोस्ती बड़ी ही हसीन है, ये ना हो तो क्या फिर बोलो ये जिंदगी है.
Oh my god, I've got goosebumps, and while I recover from that, we'll take a short break. For you it's very easy, just click on to part 2 and we're going to be talking a whole lot more. This is sort of just the prelude to part 2, the indie pop stage of Leslie's career. Catch us on the MJ Show part 2.